Alright, so right before we get into the review today, guys, I'd just like to give a quick recap of the way my rating system is going to work for my films, games, and here from now on. I tried to think of something sort of original rather than just giving a movie a flat out 5, something out of 5 or out of 10. Sort of tried to base it off similar, something like how Jeremy Jahns does it, but instead I'm basing mine off Star Wars and tried to think of something original and unique that some people may like. And basically, I'm judging my films or games or whatever I will be reviewing on the hierarchy sorry, of the Jedi Order or something along the lines of that. So at the top, you have the number one. You have Grandmaster, then you have Jedi Master, then you have Jedi Knight, Padawan, Youngling, and then for special reserve for films that are just absolutely trash or beyond this world, you belong to the trash compactor. So yeah, that's the rating system. That's how it's gonna go, and I'll do a little bit more explaining towards the end of the video. But anyway, let's just get right into the review. So over here in Sydney, Australia, we are grateful to have theatres open. I mean, in New South Wales, the COVID or whatever you like to call it, it's been managed really well, and we're blessed to have theatres open. So I went on Tuesday night to see Fatman, starring Mel Gibson and Walton Goggins. And initially, when I first saw the trailer for the movie, I was like, "Oh, this is a nice original concept. It's out of this world. It seems over the top. Walton Goggins acting so over the top. Mel Gibson having the time of his life, and just a quick conclusion or sort of like recap of what the film was about. It's a world where basically Santa works in tandem with the US government to deliver presents every year. So Santa and Mrs. Claus, played by Jean-Marie Baptiste, I believe, do their usual thing, the sleigh, reindeers, deliver presents every year. However, lately, over the last few years, more kids are being bad. Therefore, Santa cannot obviously give their presents, and financially, Santa has been a bit down, and we get an old grumpy Santa played by Mel Gibson. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so over the top, and just the movie's not taking itself seriously, and that's why, just a quick rundown, it's actually a really fun time. That's how I'm gonna put it out. It's when it doesn't take too self seriously, and you see Mel Gibson and Walter Goggins just playing these over the top characters. It's unbelievably fun, and it makes for some sort of like entertaining scenes, especially Walton Goggins. I say Walton Goggins is more the star of this film than Mel Gibson is, even though Mel Gibson is great and you can tell he's having the time of his life as this grumpy old Santa. It's actually a really enjoyable time seeing Walton Goggins, and this film actually does spend a lot of time on our villain played by Walton Goggins. I mean, like, what's more absurd than a little child actor whose dad is overseas and he's running a business and he has his own like slaves in his house, hiring a contracted killer in Walton Goggins to kill Santa Claus. Like, it's a completely absurd idea, but it's an original spin on the usual Christmas movies we have, and I think it's pretty violent, and I think it's a really just enjoyable time. I'm just gonna give you my quick thoughts on it. Obviously, this is not an Oscar-worthy film or a film that you'd praise forever. It's just an enjoyable time, and when a film like that doesn't take itself too seriously, sort of cannot like blast it out. Obviously, I have a few flaws with the films. You can like a few scenes of suspension of disbelief, especially when like certain things happen or certain elements of the US government get involved. But so basically, Walter Goggins is sort of has an obsession with Santa and collecting gifts from Santa, because Santa, Chris Kringle, played by Mel Gibson, sort of brands his gifts that he gives to children when they're young. So at the bottom, or there'd be a tag saying "Made in Santa's Workshop," and obviously this little child who hires Walter Goggins in the film, they've both been sort of betrayed by Santa in their lives, even though they've been bad. And he hands him a piece of coal for Christmas, which is, it's just absolutely absurd. It's just funny and hilarious. But I don't want to spoil too much of like the sort of the funny elements of the film, and just the over the top not over the top stereotypes, sort of like over the top sort of moments in the film, in terms of like Walter Goggins goes full Samuel Jackson in one interrogation scene when he's interrogating a postal worker, which is, I absolutely had a blast there. I could have stopped laughing. I can see one of the few issues I have with the film, which I'm gonna put out now. I can see people getting bored really easy. I don't think it's as funny as the trailer points it out to be, in terms of like the funny moments are sprinkled throughout, but there's not constantly trying to hammer in a like comedic scene or anything. But in my opinion, I found myself thoroughly entertained just through Mel Gibson's performance and just seeing this miserable Santa on screen, because we're used to Santa being this jolly person, and I don't know, just sort of like full of excitement. And he even talks in the movies like, I generate over $3 trillion in the US alone a year. And he's just always, always, always thinking about financially instead of like thinking of the happiness of children. And it's just nice original spin. It's a nice, refreshing take, I think, on the Christmas films we're used to getting. And another thing, obviously, we're going to get a final showdown between Mel Gibson and Walter Goggins' character. And a thing I find unique about the final showdown, or in general about the film, is that Santa, Chris Kringle in the film, he knows everyone's backstory. So anyone he meets, he knows like what's going on in their lives at the moment. So I actually found that it made for us a few interesting scenes where he sort of like, people would be shocked about how he knows so much about him, and like people would be creeped out. But it was it was actually really entertaining to see. And Jean-Marie Baptiste, who plays Ruth Claus, so Mrs. Claus in the film, is absolutely, I don't know, she's so adorable in the film. She's like so loving and friendly, and she always makes these lovely cookies that Mel Gibson was always eating, and he just, I don't know, it's just like a big what the F film. It's just so bonkers and over the top that I don't know. It's hard not to. It's hard not to love. It's hard to hate this film because I don't know. I just found it so just original and unique, and the concept and what it was going for, and especially maybe in a time where we're not getting much films at the moment. It's nice to see and like refreshing takes such as this. And sorry for blurring on too long. It's just yeah. That's all I'm gonna give at the moment about it. I'm not gonna give like too much of a rundown. It's just, I wish the third act was a bit longer in terms of like the final confrontation. I feel like it wrapped up too quickly. I wouldn't have minded it being longer and a few more sort of comedic interactions. But yeah, I think Fat Man was a jolly good time at the film. It was just a nice, enjoyable time, and I think Mel Gibson and Walter Goggins are having the time of their life in this. I'd love to see him in more stuff like this, and especially Walter Goggins. I think he needs to be in more things. I think he's such an over the top performance he gives is just, it's just entertaining to see. Like when he's just swearing or interrogating at children, it's just funny. But yeah, in terms of what I would give the film, I think I'd grant Fat Man the rank of Jedi Knight.
You'll find I'm full of surprises.
Yep, that's it. It's just, it's greater than a Padawan. It's obviously more than average film. It's just has its enjoyable moments. Obviously, it's not a great film or Oscar-worthy, but it's a decent, like, fun Christmas movie that people would definitely enjoy. I'm not sure about kids because it does get pretty violent in terms of, like, what's in pretty bloody in terms of, like, how violent it is. And there's a few swearing words here and there. It's definitely not a kid's film. But yeah, I think it's a nice twist on the Christmas sort of tales or films we're used to getting. So yeah, I'll stick my rating of granting Fat Man the rank of Jedi Knight. And yeah, that's my review for Fat Man today, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it. And take care. God bless. See you soon. And tomorrow for the Mandalorian review.